Paris Dunford joins us live in studio with local reaction. Paris?
President of the Springfield NAACP, Talbert Swan, says events like these two shootings should remind Americans that we haven't come too far in abolishing racism.
A deadly weekend across the country. On Saturday, an 18-year-old man allegedly opened fire in a grocery store in the middle of a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York. 10 people were killed, 3 seriously injured. And on Sunday, a similar act in a church in Orange County. The accused gunman was a Chinese immigrant allegedly motivated by hate for Taiwanese. 1 person dead and a handful more were injured.
It's an unspeakable, horrific tragedy.
Talbert Swan is the president of the NAACP for the greater Springfield area. He's a well-known activist in the Black Lives Matter movement. He says racially motivated shootings like these should bring awareness to the ongoing issue of racism in our country.
It's often said that racism is dying with the younger generation. But when you think about the fact that an 18-year-old had this much hatred in his heart toward black people, that it motivated him to the point of murder, it lets you know that racism is hardly on its deathbed.
Along with being the president of the NAACP, he's also a preacher at a Springfield church. You can't imagine a shooting taking place in what's supposed to be a most sacred place.
We're not safe behind the stained glasses of our churches, our mosques, our synagogues, that we are still subject to suffer from the evil of demented individuals who are bent on making people suffer for whatever demons they are facing themselves.
Western Mass News wanted to know if the alleged motives of these shootings would affect the severity of the crimes in court. We took questions to Associate Professor of Criminal Justice Craig Dunton at Western New England University. He says if investigators can prove the shootings were a hate crime, more charges could be added.
It can be charged as a hate crime, which, because it's a violation of civil rights, that's a federal crime, which is usually a sentence enhancement.
These 2 shootings could also be considered acts of terrorism, which would also increase the gravity of the crimes.
The case could also be made as a terrorist act, because most definitions of terrorism are about violence against civilians to perpetrate an ideology or to cause fear, which that also would be additional sentence enhancements.
With 2 shootings this weekend and a handful more over the last month, it feels like these shootings are happening more and more. Dunton says it feels that way because of copycat criminals.
They tend to come in waves because a lot of what motivates people is some sort of attention or trying to, either get attention, express themselves, express something. And when somebody gets that, like whenever they hear about it, other people are more likely or might be motivated to kind of jump in as well.
Now, both suspects in these crimes remain in custody. Reporting live in studio, Paris Dunford for Western Mass News.
Paris,